Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome to Captain of Industry, I want to say survival-style city/industry builder, where you arrive on a little island with only a handful of followers and a single ship in dire need of repair. And from that fairly humble beginning, you need to build basically a large-scale factory with a little bit of a civilian element as well, such as housing and power plants and water and food, and then make the best possible use out of the limited resources you've got, whilst also exploring a world map to find other sources of the rapidly dwindling reserves on your island, such as coal, iron, copper, wood, oil, etc. It's also got some interesting little ideas like the deformation of the landscape, as you can see here. We've got a little excavator digging out copper ore and placing it into little pickup trucks. Once the pickup truck is full, it's then going to zoom on off to one of these storage areas to dump it into a loose storage, and then eventually the copper ore will be fed along with coal into a blast furnace. It'll transform it into molten metal, which will head on onto metal casters producing impure copper. The impure copper will then be placed onto conveyors and brought even further down the line and be combined with water and or acid into copper plating, which can then be deposited into yet further storages and sent further along the line for yet more refinement. The classical building chain style system. Now, there are some weaknesses here in this building style chain as well, which we'll get into in a second, but it is in early access at the moment, though it has already a pretty chunky research tree. I'm about halfway down it at this point, and this is probably a 20-30 hour save roundabout, and it's been after a fair few restarts, as the game's often quite involved line of productions means that if you don't know where everything is going and where everything is going to be refined eventually, it can be a bit of a bitch to set up a production line. It does have a kind of recipe style system back here where you've got literal recipes to tell you how to make certain things, but I would much rather have preferred if this was intuitively delivered in the systems itself. Say, for example, if I clicked a chemical plant. Okay, chemical plant makes these things. Okay, fertilizer. Can I just click on the fertilizer and see what it's used for? Sadly not. I would have loved to see that be a pinch more intuitive, frankly, but we'll get back to that in a little bit of a moment here. So, I'm currently dropping a bit of pop. I've got 1,376 people. It is, judging by the health indicator here, due to something. No active diseases at the moment. I've got 2 edicts affecting my unity, but health is being affected by water pollution mostly. Am I dumping a lot of sour water by any chance? No, I'm just dumping a ridiculous amount of wastewater, presumably because they're shitting right into the water. I need to find some way to recycle wastewater because it is becoming a real health danger right here. Let's see, can I deal with that with an edict? Perchance. Yes, I can issue a health boost edict. I can't necessarily afford it, but it's the best thing we can do for now. So, you've got access to a wide variety of edicts over here. Maybe a growth pause? Nah, I kinda do need workers too, that's the problem. Quarantines, plenty of food. Plenty of food. I do have plenty of food, so let's activate that. And this costs unity, which is this resource right here. So health boost is -1 unity, whereas plenty of food is +1 unity. The total amount of unity is dependent upon how basically happy your populace is with the various services available. Right now, for example, I'm giving them plenty of water, more than they're actually asking for, but that is producing a ridiculous amount of waste water, which is negatively affecting their health because of water pollutants. Now, sadly, pollution doesn't really have like a graphical effect, which I really wish it had. Like, the water doesn't get discolored or anything, which would be a nice thing to see. It also doesn't cause like wilting or large-scale ecological effects, which would be nice too. Although right now the recycling system is a little bit bare bones, so perhaps they don't want to put that in yet because, well, it might crash literally everything, which is not a bit of a little problem here. But let me get back to the deformation of the landscape thing before we get into some of the other supply line issues. So, down here, we can see what is starting to become a fairly deep coal pit. Early on, I tried to stop some of the collapse by adding on retaining walls, but the problem is the retaining walls are actually pretty shallow, and you can't simply extend them when you need to, meaning that if you didn't know about the problem ahead of time, let me see where the retaining walls here, blah, 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 there we are. Right, I can't simply just slap on another one under here, which would be the easiest solution. So instead, you would have to build one, and then you would have to build another, like one step further deeper down, like this, as you can see here. The problem is, if you didn't know that before you started building them, you'll be cutting yourself off from an ever larger quantity of the resource you're trying to mine, making the retaining walls kind of awful and not worth it at all, really. As even if parts of this begins to collapse right now, big deal. Honestly, like the retaining walls are more for like digging into sand, for example, because sand does react differently from, for example, iron ore. You can see here the iron ore is barely collapsing at all. Meanwhile, if we go to an old sand pit, you can see that it actually collapses quite a lot. You've got a fair bit of downwards trend there. I like what they're doing with this. It doesn't have a whole lot of effect at the moment. It could be used more proactively. Maybe, for example, you could have a system where you have large-scale conveyors at the bottom of a pit. So instead of using pickups to transport goods, you can use gravity to collapse material downwards and then be picked up at the bottom and moved upwards. That could be an interesting thing. Maybe you could use rivers. You could create actual rivers. You can't that right now because stuff like dump water needs to be dumped directly into the ocean. But maybe you could create a river and then float resources along it. Maybe you could use river barges with vastly more transport capacity than the pickups or trucks, for example. There are a lot of potential things you can use with this landscape deformation that they're not really capitalizing on just yet. It also does have some annoying elements as well, because you have to manually designate the digging area. And once you run out of manually designated digging area, well, the digging just stops. It simply just ceases, and then you have to go over there and manually make some more digging area. You also need to manually assign a larger control tower area as well, which is kind of annoying because you got to do this twice. You got to first go to the mining control tower, and then you've got to edit the area that you are going to be operating in, like this. And then you've got to go in and manually select the area you're going to be digging in. You might also need to manually create a ramp like this so that your vehicles can actually traverse it. It feels like you're doing the same thing 3 times over, and then you are asked to redo that 3 times over as well again when you run out of resources in the immediate area. You gotta reselect a new area, manually dig into it, manually taking account for ramps, etc. If I've got a mining control tower, why can't I simply tell it, hey, fetch copper? You know? I get what they're doing with the whole deformation of the landscape. It's a lot more work than payoff right now, which I'm not massively fond of. Particularly also because if you're not paying attention to this and you do run out, okay, well, Let's say that I've run out of copper, for example, which I have for a while here, actually, because I wasn't paying close enough attention to how many things I had assigned to it. That means that if you run out of copper, you're no longer making the impure copper plates. So you can see here, the copper mixed with coal becomes molten copper and is transported via these molten channels over to the metal caster. The metal caster then turns it into unrefined copper plates, which is shunted down onto a conveyor belt. The conveyor belt then moves it into a electrolyzer, which combines it with water or acid to make proper copper. The copper is then stored in these unit storages. This one has an export order on it, so little pickup trucks will come and they will fetch the copper and they'll send it scunting on further down the production line. In this case, it is used for the very, very valuable electrical wiring system. Electrical wiring is one of the key fundamental ingredients in your industry because it is used for maintenance. So you can see the maintenance shack is right over here. Actually, over here, I believe, yes. The maintenance depot uses mechanical parts and electronics to create maintenance. Without maintenance, all of your shit starts breaking down. Everything. The trucks, the manufactories, the excavators, everything. Which means if at any point you begin running out of iron, which is used to make the mechanical parts, or you start running out of copper to make the electrical parts, everything stops. It's one of those doomsday Armageddon style resources where if you don't deal with it quickly enough, your game just kind of ends, or you're gonna have to spend a ridiculous amount of time manually unfucking the system somewhere. And this is based on iron, it is based on coal, it is based on copper, and it's based on maintenance. So if any of those elements fail, and diesel fuel as well. Without diesel, literally everything stops, and you are just actually screwed. If any of these elements fails, there is not a whole lot of chance for you, frankly, to avoid the doomsday spiral. And because the game doesn't have a properly integrated recipe system that can be seen immediately upon selecting a thing, like, for example, if I select the oxygen furnace, for example, okay, molten steel, what is molten steel used for? Well, I can't click on it here directly. I have to go to the recipe book to figure out what it's used for. It's very difficult to plan ahead for how much you're gonna need at any given time. Now, I'm the kind of player who always builds like twice what he thinks he needs, so I have less of a problem with it. But if you think that your economy could be, handled with just a couple of blast furnaces, no, it can't be. And expanding upon that can be very, very, very difficult due to the nature of the conveyor system. Now, the conveyor system uses second-tier construction resources, which are being made over here, the construction parts being turned into third-tier construction parts. And this is required to, automate the process of delivery. But as you can see, when you need one molten conveyor for every intake, and you're creating 2 molten conveyors from every blast furnace, it gets awfully spaghetti awfully quickly. And as you add on additional layers to this, like the mechanical parts production, like the vehicle engine parts production, like the research production, etc., etc., if you don't know where you're going to be expanding to at any given point, you very quickly get a very ad hoc system like this, where conveyors just have to be kind of thrown up wherever necessary to hopefully slither their way into another system. Otherwise, you're going to have to rely entirely on the pickup trucks to deliver raw resources. Now, to be fair, the pickup truck system actually works very, very well. As long as you've got a sufficient number of them, they're able to keep the internal runnings of your factory up surprisingly well, honestly. Normally, if you just simply set up a storage and say, hey, get glass, the factory will deal with getting the glass pretty damn well. The problem comes when you need a ridiculous quantity of the given resource, for example, coal. So the coal pit right now is absolutely chock full of excavators doing everything they bloody can to keep the coal flow running. But also, partially as you can see here, due to the problems of the deformation system, I've currently got a bit of a collapse going on here. So I'm feeding dirt back into the process, even as I'm digging the dirt back out and feeding it directly back in again, because I'm collapsing my own ramp. And there's no feedback system for this. Unless you manually go here and look and go, okay, what is exactly the problem? You'll never know. In this case, the problem is, again, the continuous collapse of the wall, so I need to not have them dig in this area. And once more, if you didn't know about this and you didn't set the retaining walls correctly, you've just screwed yourself out of enormous quantities of resources. And the only way to fix that is to go all the way back in the building procedure, start building retaining walls further out, then start moving all of that dirt, then start re-digging, and it is... my god, once you start running into one of these problems, it is hell to unfuck it. Absolute hell. To the point where like 6 or 7 times now, I've just restarted the map because I can't be bothered to fix a fundamental F-up in the system somewhere. It is very annoying. Again, I absolutely see what they're trying to do with the deforming system, but my god, it adds in just such a level of no funniness to it all. A complete and thorough level of no funniness to it all. So, let's see. Is there any way I could get a retaining wall up here? Yes. Right, okay. So I should at least do that to minimize the annoyanceness of it all a little bit. Right, okay. That'll help. That'll unboggle my boggle a little bit. Now, of course, this also is going to require the delivery of resources and stuff, so it's going to be a further, drain upon your logistical economy. But again, if you didn't know about this ahead of time, you're gonna have to deal with it later on. Now, with the retaining walls set up here, that should make it slightly less painful, if nothing else. It would be really nice too if you could simply just drag this out, but no, you gotta make them one by one. But beyond these little chafing issues right here, how does the game play overall? Well, actually, once you do get an understanding, and to be fair, this is a bit of an inherent problem in all building style games like this. If you don't know the logistical system, you're gonna run into problems where like, oh shit, I didn't make enough of that, or shit, I made too little of that, and then you look at your pre-made system and go, oh god, expanding this is gonna be absolute hell. To the point where I'm considering some kind of maybe central magazine feed for this, but I don't know how you would even do that due to the varying, widths of everything. Once you do get going, though, there's a very interesting system where, for example, I just unlocked electrolysis. There you go. Oh, there's the wastewater treatment plant I badly need, so we can start researching that too. Let's see, where is it exactly? Blah 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 blah. Doesn't seem to be here. Electro. Where are you hiding, little dumbass thing? Water, maybe? No? Probably not food. I wouldn't imagine it would be in the food. There we go. Electrolyzer. So, the electrolyzer, don't click on it. As you can see here, it uses oxygen to make hydrogen, or it uses ammonia and nitrogen to make hydrogen. Alright, well, what do I use hydrogen for? Well, honestly, that's a good question. But what I do know is that I am currently making ammonia as a byproduct of the sour water strippers, which is trying to use sour water, which is a major pollutant, to make sulfur. Now, sulfur is useful because I can, dump that over here into the rubber production plants, which can use sulfur instead of coal to make rubber, which is better because then I can use the coal for other damn things, and it doesn't make wastewater, so that's just a straight up upgrade. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too effective because it only uses 1 unit of sulfur for 6 units of rubber. And I'm not using enough rubber quickly enough, partially because I've screwed up the copper thing. So currently I'm simply not using enough rubber, and so the sulfur is simply languishing right here, which means that the sour water strippers halt because they don't have anywhere to put the sulfur, and burning the sulfur is going to create even more pollutant than the sour water, so yeah. Which means if I can at least get something to deal with the ammonia, I'll be able to deal with one of the outlets. It's not the end all and be all, but it's something. So, hydrogen. What can hydrogen be used for? Well, let's see. Hey, Joe. Hi. There you go. Hydrogen. Okay. Radio, consumption, I can burn it in a flarer, right? That's one way to get rid of it. I can put it in a gas boiler along with water to make steam and power. Ooh, now that's useful, because making power is something that I always goddamn need. I'm theoretically producing 4.8 megawatts, yet I constantly run out of power due to the somewhat... Oh, what's going on over here then? Groundwater resources getting low. Okay, so I'm kind of overusing this a little bit. Groundwater is replenished when it rains, so that's not a catastrophe just yet, but okay. Power. Power is useful. I'm going to need nitrogen, however. Okay, well, how do I get nitrogen? Well, I think I know, but let's check for... Again, it would be so much easier if you could just... That's not how you spell nitrogen. If you could just click on the thing itself, like click, and go like, oh, this is nitrogen. No. Okay, nitrogen is produced in an air separator, which produces oxygen and nitrogen. Okay, well, that's not a problem because I can simply burn off the oxygen. No issues there. So how do we even begin planning this production chain? Okay, well, we'll pause the game. Electrolyzer. Well, I need the oxygen separator, which is this one here, which makes oxygen and nitrogen, which makes 12 every 20 seconds. All right. I am producing 4 hydrogen every 20 seconds, burning 8 nitrogen. So one of these would be able to support 1 electrolyzer. Fair enough. But how much do I need to boil in the boiler? Okay. I need 8 hydrogen every 10 seconds to create a steady supply of steam. Okay, so I need 8 hydrogen every 10 seconds. And I'm making 4 every 20. So I'm going to need 4 electrolyzers to feed 1 boiler, which means I'm going to need, 16? I'm going to make 24 odd nitrogen. That's a lot of nitrogen that I'm going to be producing there. Oh, I'm not. I don't need it. I'm going to be producing it. Derp. There you go. Little arrow thing. Well, I can simply just burn it, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. What's the burn rate for that? Burner. There. A flare will burn... I'm pretty sure something would burn nitrogen, didn't it? Pretty sure Oh, there you go, yep. Accepts nitrogen, no pollution. Yep, so I can just dump that back into the atmosphere. No problemo. Okay, fair enough. But I'm still going to need 4 of these damn things to run 1. Okay, I'll need 4 every 20 seconds. How much am I making? I'm only making 8 every 20 seconds. Okay, so we've got a problem here where I can't actually run a burner using this. Less than ideal. So again, you see I've kind of messed up on my sour water treatment here, where I'm not creating enough ammonia to effectively utilize it at the electrolyzer level. To the point that now I might have to have some electrolyzers running water, creating hydrogen and oxygen to make up for the deficit. And I'm going to need twice that. Oh, Jesus, that's going to be a bit of a hellish thing right there, honestly. So I can make 2 electrolyzers using ammonia, and then I'll need 4 more burning water into oxygen and hydrogen. Okie dokie. Do I have space for that here? Maybe. It'll require some creaming in there, but not impossible. But that places my water creating problems under yet further strain. Ugh. What was the wastewater treatment? It can clean water. Right, well, that'll be a fantastic thing, so long as I can make chlorine. Okay, now maybe we're thinking about something. So chlorine requires brine, right? Well, I can make brine from seawater, so now maybe we're beginning to finally cook with gas here. This will be a way to alleviate the stress on my water treatment, but as you can see now, the production change is beginning to balloon rather drastically. And is there enough space to do all of this? Well, that's the question. Now, of course, you could simply go somewhere else, but bear in mind, you're gonna need to pump all of this in, meaning you're gonna need more piping spaghetti somewhere, but you're still going to need to create open space and paths for your trucks to pass. By the way, it would be really nice if I could simply make asphalt, because right now I'm kind of not sure where everything can go, because I've made these tall, and really I should have been using the ramps and the bridges instead, because you can actually I've got an example of it up here. You can pipe a lot of stuff under a bridge, but again, this requires you to actually know that you're going to need to do this. And this, I think, is the biggest fundamental problem with the system as it is currently. It's not intuitive where everything is going, and so you end up dealing with one thing at a time. Like, okay, I'm gonna get my metal production going, but then later you go like, okay, metal is used for, okay, I'm just gonna make mechanical parts. Okay, fine, that's all I'm gonna need. But then metal is needed for a second thing, and then metal is needed for a third thing, and then metal is needed for a fourth thing, and you keep trying to branch it out, and you've only got so and so many sources of iron as well. For example, I'm making steel up here using a second iron ore depository, and I'm needing to ferry the steel in via manual actual ferrying via pickup trucks. A simple system where you can click on a thing and then expand that thing would tremendously help in how to utilize something. So you click on the blast furnace, alright, and you don't unlock all of these recipes either to begin with. You need to unlock them via research. So you click on the blast furnace, that creates slag. Okay, click on the slag. What is slag used for? Well, slag is used in the crusher to make crushed slag. Okay, what is that used for? And so on and so on. If you could simply just expand this instead of manually needing to go in here, okay, slag, right, okay, slag crushed, alright, is used in the crusher. And I can't even click on this then to go like, okay, slag crushed, okay. It's used in concrete mixers, apparently. And you need to just dump the rest of it. Like, it's not very intuitive. And it makes it an absolute bastard to plan for things. Now, of course, you can also just dump things, which I'm doing here. And here you see another usage of the landmass system as well, by the way, where I'm actually creating extra space for docks, which is really, really, really damn cool. You can also get additional incoming resources via, I think I've loaded up my ship here. Yes, I have a 200 production part, so I'm going to send that over here to deliver cargo. Load crew. That's going to screw over my work order, but it's just going to have to be how it's going to have to be. And then the Archie stand on water will leave and deliver the cargo, which will give me access to a coal mine, which means that I can use a cargo ship with the suitable accompanying thingity-bob, the loose modules here, to bring it over. You can also actively upgrade things, which is really nice, and you can even use the quick delivery system, burning a little bit of Unity, to get it all delivered at once, as normally you build things by delivering them via pickup truck, so you gotta keep things stored. Let's speed things up a little bit as this upgrades. Alright, there you go, and now we've got a loose module medium here. I can even upgrade the entire cargo dock, so that's that too. It uses concrete slabs and construction parts, and I'm just speeding that up here. As normally, you'd have to fetch them from unit storages and then deliver them via the pickup trucks. The pickup truck system works really well, honestly, although I feel like the limitations are a little bit harsh. I get it that you don't want to give them infinite amount of pickup trucks because, well, it makes the logistical system kind of pointless if you can just deliver infinite quantities of anything, anywhere, at any point. But 110 at this point is a big limitation, and you've got to go pretty damn far down the research tree to get the next one. Where do I even get the next one? Do I even get a next one? It actually doesn't kind of look like it. So 110 vehicle is pretty much the top of the line for me, is it? That's not ideal. There could also be a better way of dealing with this, because I don't want this one to be picking up sulfur anymore. So I kind of need to empty this, but I can't do that well anywhere either. Okay, am I just boned on that front then? I hope not. I've already ordered the sulfur production to halt, and hopefully, once this is up and running, I can order the load cargo, and you gonna do that for me, or are you a bit retarded now? You're a bit retarded now. Okay, that's a problem. In the minority, collects cargo automatically, transport multiplies the products at the same time, and will make sure all of them are supplied, it will depart, and time and its product needs to be transported. Okay, so hopefully that will actually go fetch some coal when there's enough coal to be fetched, and then I can empty the storages out somehow if I just make them really high priority exports, for example. And then make maybe a temporary storage there or something. It's a bit annoying, especially as you can actually empty out trucks by expanding a little bit of Unity. If a thing has been kept inside of the truck's cargo compartment for too long, you can spend a little bit of Unity on actually just getting rid of it, which would be a nice thing to do right about now, for example. All in all, it's a very nice foundation, and it's a very enjoyable game to play, despite a lot of my bitching about it. You know, we yell at those things we love, but it is way too bottom heavy. If you fuck up a single resource, and it's very easy to screw up a single resource because of the size and the amount of foreknowledge required and the difficulty in planning stuff, if you mess something up, you end up in a situation where either you need to spend an hour unpicking your fuck up, which is not fun at all, as you need to tear down buildings and rebuild buildings and tear down entire areas and so on. It needs a little bit more wiggle room, shall we say, at the beginning levels. Maybe make like blast furnaces more effective, just straight up. Maybe add on upgrade parts. Say, for example, that the blast furnace can be upgraded as well, because I really like the upgrade system. You can take a tier 1 loose storage and you can upgrade it to a loose storage 2 by just clicking on it, and the parts will be delivered, and eventually it'll look like this. That's a great system. Allow me to upgrade basic things as well, so that I simply need to worry about input. Allow me to scale the output as required. For example, right now I'm creating way too much molten mass, but I might still be running out of metal. In fact, I was running out of metal until recently, making sure that, okay, I can click on this and go like, click, there you go, an upgrade going. Now, you can also use the boost mechanic to do this as well. For example, if I boost this, it will decrease the time required to 20. So it'll actually cut it in half. So you can kind of do it, but it costs running Unity. And I'd much rather have an upgrade system costing the next building resource, but still taking up the same amount of space. That would give you a bit more flexibility in that regard. And again, a better recipe book. Absolutely. Go look at the recent Anno game and just steal its progression system straight up, because Anno is an incredibly comfortable game to simply scale up production, because you always know exactly what the production line is, because it tells you, okay, you need this. Well, how do you get it? Here's the entire layout. You know exactly what buildings you need to get an advanced product. It is an excellently designed game in that regard. So steal those ideas, totally. Keep the truck systems. Maybe allow me to upgrade the trucks as well, because right now I've got to manually scrap the truck. The truck then needs to manually drive on over to the thing, get scrapped, releasing one of the vehicle slots, allowing me to build the next vehicle. It's not the biggest pain in the ass in the world, but it would be nice to again just expand that upgrade system, because the upgrades work really, really well. All in all, especially for an early access title, I think this is an incredibly solid start, and I look forward to them refining and upgrading the system, as the core gameplay is already really damn solid. Maybe also, you know what I would really love in a game that requires these many things? A quick little calculator would be awesome. I know, I'm a retard with numbers. They're tiny numbers. 8 plus 8 equals 27. That's me, at least. But again, do a recipe system where you just click on the thing, click on the recipe. Okay, I have so and so many things. How many things do I need to make a effective chain? How much ammonia do I need to run a boiler? How much ammonia producing things do I need to run that boiler? So on and so on. That'd be really, really nice. But if you're looking for a nice little industrial building game, I highly recommend it. It's a very, very nice early access game, and it's got that kind of realistic feel to it, you know. It's got realistic little, it's got a mill here, you've got a bakery, you've got storage units, everything looks kind of industrialized. There's no hover units, there's no Industries of Titan feel to it, there's no Factorio feel. It's just simple old containers being driven by trucks across a nice big landscape. It's got a nice bit of flavor to it. Anywho, until next time, I have been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.